Today I'm back with another case study, and it is an exciting one because I'm working with a couple that is north of $2 million and they are under age 60. And when they came to me, they want to retire in a few years. And we had a really nice conversation. And it turns out they were in a better spot than they knew, and they retired even earlier in a better spot than when they came to me. So I'm going to show you how we implemented the planning for them so that you can understand if this might apply to your situation. Now, I am the host of the Early Retirement Podcast. I am the vice president here at Root. And finally, I'm a certified financial planner. If you're looking for more content to understand when you can retire early, how much you can spend in retirement, how to make sure you're not paying any more than you need to in taxes in retirement, then you're in the right spot. I invite you to subscribe for more information. So this is going to be a real client case that I'm showing you. And before I went into any deep planning with them, I asked them some questions about how much they wanted to spend in retirement, what they wanted to do. So I got that good base of what they actually want in retirement. Now it's about making the finances work so that can actually happen. So they came to me and they started saying, Ari, I want to retire at 62 and, my wife maybe at 60. I'm not so sure if this is possible. And before me, coming back with deep analysis, I said, when would you retire if there was no finances, zero implications that could occur? Would you retire tomorrow? And some people say yes, but in reality, they're going to finish the project. Or they go, no, I actually love what I do. I would just do something different. This couple specifically said, Ari, we are working right now because it's for financial reasons, nothing else. I said, okay, what are you going to do in retirement? They're like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I wouldn't even let you get my green light to retire if you don't actually know what you want to do in retirement. But I want to make sure that I know if we're working for financial reasons or if there's something else there. And so they're like, no, the truth is we just don't love what we're doing anymore. We've done it for so long. I don't really know what we want to do. So this is very common. So if you're listening to this going, that's me, very common. Now, a lot of you are going to watch this go, oh my gosh, what are you even saying? If I knew financially I could retire tomorrow, I would go ski and I'd go hike and awesome. A lot of people would love to be you, but they're just not. Or they've been working and grinding for 30, 40 years that they're not in a comfortable spot to go do those things. So I want to make sure that anyone comes to me is not retiring too early. And so what I think every advisor should do is before even asking about exactly, when to retire and what you want to do, is almost put the impetus on the advisor to prove their logic and see if it's different for you. Here's an example. This couple started telling me when they want to retire, I said, hey, before we even take a deeper dive, let me learn a little bit more about, these deep questions. What do you want to do in retirement? If you would retire, would you actually stop tomorrow? And then I came back and I said, here's what you're on track for. And I want you to see if it matches up with what you thought. Because they thought, once again, they could retire at 62 or 60, but they didn't really know. Part of them was going, maybe it's 65. Part of them was going, I don't even know. How much can we spend? So there were a lot of unknowns, but a good advisor should say, hey, let me show you what you're on track for from my end. Here's what I think is sustainable before we even talk about what you want to do. And I see why people don't do this, because some advisors go, you know what, the truth is I don't know when you can retire, and so it's just safer to keep working. Well, that's the easy answer. The easy answer is keep working. If you want to have a great plan, work 20 more years. The plan will look great, but your life might not. You might look back and go, why didn't I retire earlier or even consider retiring earlier? So with that being said, let's hop into the plan so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the couple. For security purposes, I'm changing their names here. So you can see up here, John and Sarah Sample, and I'm excluding their personal residence and they don't have a mortgage, and I'm excluding their bank accounts, checking and savings. I'm just saying, what are we working with investment wise? So right now they have a 401k worth $600,000, a brokerage worth $650,000, a Roth with $410,000, another Roth IRA with $114,000, a 403b with $67,000, an IRA traditional with $350,000, and an HSA with $45,000. So this is what they're working with. And they were like, hey, I don't even know what spot we're in. And so before, once again, I want to talk to them about their goals, which I'll do a separate video on this. I wanted to know, hey, what income are you bringing in today? And so they're like, listen, I'm bringing in $180,000. My partner's bringing in $105,000. We're planning on Social Security, but not for some time. My wife's going to have a pension in the future, but don't want to rely on that right now. So a lot of different planning that goes into this and how much they're saving, 401k, and etc. But what I did is I simply said, let me show you what the plan looks like if you wanted to retire tomorrow. And they're like, oh my God, this looks unbelievable. They went, wait a second. Are you telling me, Ari, I have $2.2 million right now And if I just get moderate growth, it looks like I'm on track for $4.3 million. I said, that's exactly right. But you're not in a spot to retire. And they're like, what do you mean? $4.3 million looks like a lot of money. I go, it is a lot of money. How much do you want to spend? And they said, to be honest, Ari, we'd love to spend $12,000 a month in retirement. I said, great. I was basing this, assuming you guys stop working today and you spend $10,000 a month the rest of your life. What if, before we even talk about that, what if you get unlucky? What if you go, Ari, I don't want to invest well. I'm not open to that. I'm a conservative investor. Watch what happens. So all of a sudden, I'm not shifting anything on the investment side. I'm assuming they stop working, and all of a sudden there's about $2 million fewer dollars. Now they're still okay. They're still $2.5 million. But this couple shared with me that they wanted to leave $1 million to each child. So I want you to watch this and go, wait a second, I have a partner. I'm not trying to leave $2 million to a child. So what does that mean for me? What it means is your plan should be very different for someone that does want to leave $2 million. And it might mean you're in an amazing spot to retire right now, and you might just not know it. Because legacy planning is important. If you're not planning on leaving $2 million to a child, or if that's not important to you, then you might be able to retire a whole lot earlier. Now, this particular client came to me once again, and they were like, listen, we'd love to spend $12,000 a month in retirement. So we will stress test this and show them, what if you spent $12,000 a month every single month for the rest of your life and got unlucky, meaning it's just markets didn't perform well, or you said, hey, I'm not open to investing in a bunch of equities that are going to be volatile. Well, what happens is they're still okay, but there's $1 million left over. And what if it's just total preservation, which almost unrealistic, but I'll show this to clients to say, hey, listen, even if markets do really, really poorly and you spend $12,000 a month for the rest of your life, you're going to be okay. Now, there's not going to be a lot left over, but the truth is you will still eat. And so that's more of just, hey, client, like not telling you go retire or don't retire. It's me saying, here are your options. So this couple said, Ari, very helpful, good to see. But the truth is I am open to working a little bit longer if it meant I could spend more. I said, great, watch what happens. If you both work one more year, what you could see here is if you work one more year and you want to spend $12,000 a month in retirement, well, all of a sudden, yes, there's fewer dollars, but the difference is before, and I'll show you the difference so you can see it and quantify the impact of your head, is you still pass away with $3 million at 93, and you just worked one more year. So you're in your head trying to quantify what's the impact of one more year in retirement, and you can see here, it's a big difference. Meaning if you said, I want to spend $10,000 a month every single month in retirement, and you're willing to work one more year, working one more year brings in $350,000 more dollars. That's significant. But too many people play this game and keep pushing back the goalpost to the point where now, and I'll show you a hypothetical, is guys, you could work till 63 and 60 if you really wanted to, and look what would happen. What would happen is you'd have $5.5 million at age 93. Is that what you'd like? And most people go, that'd be cool, but no, that's not what I'd like. I'd rather retire earlier. And I say, great, let's show you that. And so we'll go back and say, hey, what if you do truly stop right now? And you say, Ari, we want to spend $12,000 a month in retirement, and you get moderate growth. Well, what you're looking at here is, yeah, there's fewer dollars, but you're on track for $2.5 million. And so this particular couple was like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know this was possible. And then I'll show them this, which I call the retirement smile, which is a little thing we can toggle on here, which is just to show how does spending actually change in retirement. Most people are not going to spend $12,000 every single month. You're going to spend a whole lot more while you have your energy, while you have your health. You're going to want to go do more. Then maybe in your early 70s, you might spend a whole lot less, maybe even late 70s, a whole lot less. And then almost early 80s, late 80s, you're like, hey, I don't want to pass away with $3-4 million. I'd rather give more, or I'd rather spend more, or I'd rather do XYZ. And so more often than not, it looks like a smile as opposed to just marrying this monthly number, which is what most people do. And so look at the difference here. Now, when we turn on the smile, they're still spending $12,000 a month, but what happens is they're spending a lot less in these years where they're not traveling to the same degree. And so, yeah, there's fewer dollars. Why? Because you're spending $12,000 a month instead of $10,000 a month. But what's happening is I'm showing you spending a whole lot less in the middle. And so we can toggle this off and just assume you spend $12,000 every month. Yeah, there's fewer dollars. They're still okay, but it's almost unrealistic because most people are not spending $12,000 every single month. Now, this is the graph that 99% of people retire on. The one I just showed you right now, this is how people retire. I won't let one person retire early on this graph. And the reason for it is anytime you retire before 65, you have to add on other expenses. What about healthcare? What about part-time income? What about extra travel? And so what we'll do is we'll go into the software, and whether it's this software or any software, is we'll go in and we'll add certain expenses. So we'll go in here and say, let's add healthcare expenses. And not forever, but let's start it from right now. Let's do it every single year, and let's end that at 65 once Medicare kicks in. And so let's put the annual amount here at $15,000. The truth is it could be very different, but between you and your spouse, let's put $15,000 a month. Watch what happens. There's certainly fewer dollars. Before it showed 1.8 million fewer dollars. Now it shows 2.2 million fewer dollars, but it's still $2 million at the end of the day. So this is a significant expense. It's 5 years of healthcare expenses. And so some people are like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could pay for healthcare out of pocket for so many years, especially my spouse. I go, great, then let's have that conversation. That doesn't mean you don't retire. It means you get really intentional about retirement. And maybe it means you're going in here and saying, wait a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some part-time income. And we'll start to layer this in. And maybe you're doing something that pays a whole lot less, but it's just so much less stressful. And maybe you're doing it 3 days a week or something like that. And so let's just assume you're doing that. And let's assume you do that for 5 years. Just an example. $40,000 a year for 5 years between both of them, by the way. And what you could see here, once you lay that back on it, it's actually as odd as it is. If you're able to bring in $40,000 a year, which doesn't seem like much, it's not that $40,000 a year is the end all be all. It's $40,000 less that has to come from your portfolio that allows that to keep compounding. And that's the real power. So what we want to do is say, okay, what role does part-time income play? What role do healthcare expenses play? How does Social Security change? Because we didn't do a whole episode on the optimal way to collect as early as possible for retirement, age 70, a customized strategy. So these are the types of conversations I'm having. And then I'll leave you with one more thing, which in my opinion is the most important, which is this page right here. This is the number one mistake that people are making when it comes to an early retirement, which is how much can I take out of my portfolio without the risk of running out of money? And so what I want you to look at right here is their withdrawal rate if they were to retire right now, today. And let's assume they want to spend $12,000 a month with healthcare expenses on top of that. And they're bringing in some part-time income, getting some moderate growth. Their withdrawal rate's 5.2%. Now, 5.2% is not sustainable forever. So if they wanted to get my green light, say, Ari, can I retire early from you and your firm? The answer is no. If this number kept going up and up and up, but here's what happens. What's happening is actually it's going down, meaning their investments are growing at a faster rate than they're even spending. Part-time income is really helping these first 5 years because less has to come from somewhere else. And then we've got these years from 64 to 70 where you're going, oh my gosh, it's 5.7, 6.5, almost 7, north of 7%. Ari, how could you possibly recommend this to a client? I go, I wouldn't. They go, what do you mean? I go, this is not sustainable forever. But what I want you to recognize is your withdrawal rate might be slightly higher than the 4% rule, the 5% that you hear about, which is not sustainable unless it's temporary. Meaning here are a few years where you don't have part-time income, Medicare's kicked in, so the healthcare costs go away, but you're still spending that $12,000 a month. And I want my client to, because what's going to happen is once Social Security gets turned on, your withdrawal rate's going to be so low. We're looking at in the 2% range. And this is, guys, so sustainable that what's going to happen is you're going to be in your 90s and you're going to pass away with $2, $3, $4 million. And you're going to be really mad at me in your 80s when you go, Ari, I told you the money was worth more to me when I had my energy and health. Why didn't you give me the confidence to go spend? So what I don't do is say, yep, you can just go spend this willy-nilly. I say, hey, if markets are doing really well and your withdrawal rate is sustainable that year, I'm perfectly fine with this. Some people come and they go, hey, there's just no way I could ever take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% of my portfolio. I go, I also agree. Unless, for example, you're coming to me and you're, 64 and you say, hey, I want to, take this one big trip. Well, I don't want you to not take the one big trip just because your withdrawal rate shows 10% in a single year. It might be 10% in 1 year because you're doing a home renovation. It might be 10% in 1 year because you're taking a big trip and doing a home renovation. And then future years are going to be a whole lot less. And so it's about saying, how can we have a dynamic withdrawal strategy that makes sure you never run out of money, as opposed to simply going, yeah, I'm not going to spend, I'm not going to enjoy these years where I have my energy and health. And then in the future, I think I'll be okay. I think you will be okay as well. I think you'll be mad that you didn't spend more when you had your energy and your health. And I don't want you to ever retire too early, but I also don't want you to look back and go, that was a no-brainer. I hope this case study was helpful just to make you think a little bit differently about if you have north of $2 million and you want to retire early, what are the things to think through? Part-time income, healthcare, travel, withdrawal rates. These are the types of conversations we're having with our clients. So if you have an advisor right now, you go, and they're doing all this for me, I say, great. If you have an advisor that's maybe just doing portfolio management or the investment side of things, but not the holistic picture, the tax, the withdrawal, the estate, then consider reaching out to us if you're looking for a holistic partner or another advisor that focuses on holistic financial planning. So this is what we love doing. If it's of interest to you, I invite you to apply to work with us, and we look forward to talking with you soon. Love you guys.